a charge against this man. Okay, and then Pilate has to say it again just a few verses later, down in verse 13. Pilate called together the Jewish establishment, the chief priests and the rulers of the people. He said to him, "You have brought me this man as one who is inciting the people to rebellion. I've examined him in your presence, even with the sham witnesses that the establishment was trying to throw up." And Pilate says, there's no basis for your charges against him. And so we have this, in a sense, neutral third party who's looking at Jesus and saying that he's innocent. Neutral third party, what I mean by that is, I suppose if you wanted to look at it from a highly critical perspective, we can't really trust the disciples of Jesus because they've got, they want to get this belief in Jesus established. We certainly can't trust the Jewish establishment because they're demonstrating over and over their propensity to lie. But here we have this guy who comes in representing Rome. He's got no dog in the fight. He doesn't really care about who's right or wrong in this. And he's looking at it from this very neutral standpoint and saying over and over and over, he's innocent. Verse 22 again. Pilate desperately wants to release Jesus. He appeals to them again. But they kept shouting, "Crucify him, crucify him." So for the third time, Pilate speaks to them. Why? What crime has this man committed? I have found in him no grounds for the death penalty. And yeah, he's been a problem, so we're going to have him punished and then release him. But the innocence is declared there by Pontius Pilate. So we see that this growing importance for Pontius Pilate. Yeah, it roots it in history so that we know that what we're reading is actual fact. He demonstrates Jesus' innocence from a detached third-party perspective. But here's really what's going on. See, only Pilate can crucify Jesus. That Jewish establishment, they can stone somebody or maybe use some other form of execution, but only Pilate can order a crucifixion. And you say, well, why is that important? Your salvation. And I told the kids the other night, I didn't even really put this together until I've been looking at this the last couple of weeks. But our salvation totally depends upon Pontius Pilate being in this equation. Otherwise, from a logical standpoint, this whole sacrifice thing that Jesus is trying to pull off here, it's not going to work unless he's crucified, and only Pilate can order that crucifixion done. Why is crucifixion so important? Well, this is from Galatians chapter 3. Paul writes, "Christ redeemed us from the curse of the law by becoming a curse for us." And he quotes Deuteronomy there and several other places in the Old Testament. They say, "Cursed is everyone who is hung on a pole." There it is in Deuteronomy. And again, it's all over the Old Testament. Cursed is everyone who's hung on a pole, crucified. Saying, well, why does this have to be in there? It's kind of buried in Deuteronomy here. It never really stands alone in the Old Testament. It always seems like a bit of an afterthought. But think about it for a moment here. Okay, God is perfectly holy and just, right? God will not do something wrong. We're counting on God to put our sin upon Jesus. But God is looking at that and saying, I've got to have a reason to do that. I can't just arbitrarily take it from you, put it on Christ. Christ has done nothing to deserve any sort of death, much less